Jackson, what was your favorite quote?
Uzebanamuk, Uzebanamuk, Uzebanamuk.
Welcome to the Undertone podcast, where we talk about all things creepy. I'm your in-house skeptic, Evie Babbage, and I'm joined by my believer co-host, Justin Manuel.
You're gonna love this. I got something juicy.
Ooh, do tell.
10 mysterious audio recordings from an anonymous email. Let's keep an open mind, Evie.
Let me guess, it's a demonic possession.
Okay, easy, all right.
Hi, I'm Jackson, the horror veteran.
And I'm Madelyn, the horror novice, and welcome to Bloody Wankers.
Your quintessential home for all things horror. Today we watched Undertone. Madelyn, what was your initial thoughts, spoiler-free, of Undertone?
Spoiler-free thoughts of Undertone. It's true what they say. It relies a lot on sound, which is really good.
It is a sound-based horror movie.
You could probably close your eyes and understand mostly what's going on.
The short synopsis of Undertone is there's this woman who has a long-distance close friend, and they run a podcast named the Undertone Podcast, and they are discovering this one little weird email chain with 10 audio recordings that was sent by an anonymous person, and things just get weird.
As they do.
What do you think, spoiler-free, the movie did well?
Again, I think spoiler-free. The movie used its sound really phenomenally. I think the sound balance was actually really well done, which is a thing that I have started to pay attention to. This was an issue when Spider-Verse came out, Across the Spider-Verse, the sound balance got wonky and people complained about it in theaters. And with this one, I think you could probably hear just about everything that the characters then referenced and or reacted to yourself. So you felt as if you were in the environment with them, which was really good.
Yeah, I think also the cinematography was great. It was a movie that was very simple. It was one house, very few parts of the house, but it kept it interesting with all the different coloring and different shots. And the main actress also just did a phenomenal job of holding down the fort of this movie. You see her and you see her mom, who is, what do you call that, catatonic?
Yeah, she is an elder woman who has been, I guess catatonic, for a while now. It sounded like 20 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, and she's obviously on her last legs.
Yeah, she's on her deathbed.
And she is unresponsive, so yeah, that sets up the story. And yeah, I think overall the sound, the cinematography, the acting, it was all great. But the script definitely was a little lacking. So
into the spoiler zone?
Into the spoiler zone.
All right, do you want to start this off?
Sure, yeah. So I'd say as a premise, it was a very simple yet good one. And it's something that we've seen a lot of, but done different ways. Like, I think at its heart, it was very of the like of Sinister, which I love, but it had a new modern feel to it, being more relevant in the podcast universe, which was really cool to see. But with that said, I think ultimately its payoff at the end of everything just like going to shit after she and her fellow podcaster listened to the last recording. It felt cheap and tacky, and I just think that like it wasn't interesting. It didn't deserve the payoff of everything going to shit.
In terms of payoff, it reminded me of Shelby Oaks, or at least how I received it, where the premise was really fascinating to me, and again, it was very modern. but the end of it, and the big thing for me is I'm not religious, so anything that gets into religious horror doesn't strike a tune in me at all. Like there's nothing that resonates with me. I just get a little more freaked out about anything regarding religion than I was before, which is probably not what to take away from it. And this one really leaned heavily into somewhat into biblical themes, and there was a big emphasis on children's nursery rhymes and lullabies and prayers. And I don't know. A lot of children's stories do have dark meanings to them because they are, cautionary tales. And it didn't feel like they were deriving anything meaningful from the actual content of the stories. What they were doing was they were reversing the words, and they were like, oh, but there's other words in here, and our main character expressed it, I forget the word, but it's hearing things to make sense of sounds that you don't understand. And I think that's what a lot of this movie leaned into, was pulling something from nonsense in order to freak the viewer and the characters out.
Yeah. My favorite part of the movie was near the end when the podcast was accepting other phone-in calls, where first of all, the live call-in time was 3 to 4 a.m. Where the main character lived, which I thought was a bizarre call-in time for a podcast who we weren't really sure if they were successful or not, but you have to be really successful to get multiple calls at 3 to 4 a.m. But my favorite part in that was one of the callers was acting strange. In fact, all of them were, but one was acting particularly strange, which made the main character yell, "Justin, trace the call." I don't know what she thought Justin was able to do, her fellow podcast host.
She expressed thinking that he couldn't do much at the start of the movie.
Yes, she said
you're not an engineer.
Yeah, she said you're not an engineer.
Regarding audio files.
So how on earth does she expect someone to not have any ability to do that? Just trace the call? Does she know that tracing calls is it's a police thing?
It's more of a process.
Yeah.
It's possible, but
it requires a lot of technology.
Under that pressure, with no setup.
With no hacking abilities, no other technology.
That was another thing that the movie relied a lot on, was the main character. Obviously, she's in this environment. She's with her dying mother. She's isolated. She doesn't sleep much. Her mother doesn't eat much, and it doesn't really seem like she does either. And she is up so late listening to things that, make her start imagining things and hallucinating. I think my biggest issue with it is that a lot of her problems could be solved if she just asked someone to come help her. It didn't sound like she asked her partner to come. He probably should have.
Yeah, she was
volunteered in the first place.
She was in a relationship.
Yeah.
Who also, she was pregnant too, which added to a lot of this baby hysteria.
Oh, we haven't actually talked about that much.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really, it felt more of a plot device than anything, but she found out that she was 6 weeks pregnant, and she didn't really do anything with that information. That information didn't make her cry. It didn't make her happy. It just kind of, she just
in
drank.
Shock, and then she just moved on because she is clearly struggling with her partner from her end. Her partner seems
Fine.
like he doesn't feel like there's anything wrong with their relationship. But she insinuates that she's thinking about aborting the child to her doctor. She does not ever tell her partner that she's pregnant, and she doesn't tell her friend either. She just sits on this information, which do what you will with that information. But when it got to certain points in the story where they were talking about how mothers are killing their babies and sacrificing it to Abizu, common Abizu is what kept being repeated. She's some religious
She's
figure
a
that
goddess of death or something.
Not a goddess, because she got hanged or something. She was an infertile woman who wanted kids really badly, and then like went around killing other people's kids out of spite or something.
Yeah.
Which, like, not cool, man. What the fuck? But it's, you know, it's this figure that is appearing to these women in their dreams, and they're sleepwalking, and there's this whole whatever where these pregnant women or women who have recently had children are getting into this state where they then kill their children. And I was talking to you, I was drawing reference to the Yellow Wallpaper, where it felt very much like it was leaning into postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. But because of the religious tone of the story, and because of how they were framing these things, and because her first reaction to having a baby is thinking, like, is saying, I want to consider my options, which is, you know, insinuating again that she's thinking about abortion. It got to a point where I was like, is this an anti-abortion movie? Is this...
Yeah,
like,
it was kind of unclear.
I don't know what direction they were heading with that.
Yeah, I think overall its base is very solid, but at its core, it's just a story that we've seen time and time again, just done in slightly different, slightly modern ways.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a casual viewer, it's gonna be a good movie. You're gonna be scared by it, and it's gonna be fine. But if you're someone who watches a lot of movies, you're gonna be bored by it. And ultimately, just watch better movies instead. Just watch Sinister. I think it was fine, but yeah, it would have been more interesting if they had a more ambiguous ending, and
or
they
a
did
clearer story to begin with.
Yeah, and they did leave the ending somewhat ambiguous, but they should have had it broader ambiguous, but then develop more. Like, it should have been maybe the whole time she was, I don't know, she already gave birth, and
Yeah, that would be a good one.
it was all
especially with all the baby wailing.
yeah, and it was all just postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
Or it was like she finds out that there never even was a person named Justin, or she takes off her headphones and the sounds don't stop. I mean, it's getting...
She never took her headphones off. I was getting really annoyed with that, because it's like, if you're being freaked out by these things that are noise canceling, you put them on your ears, like, it's the only thing you're hearing. Why didn't you take them off ever? Like, I understand staying on the call for Justin, but you could also say, hey, Justin, I'm taking this off.
Yeah.
There's so much you could have done to prevent it.
So overall, it's definitely a movie that's just making you scream, take your headphones off, person who's scared, with audio files on their computer. Madelyn, what was your rating of it?
It's a 3. I have final thoughts on the ending, real quick. I think she was the one making noise by the end, and we see her reacting to it, but we hear Justin reacting and calling for her, which doesn't make sense. If they're just listening to the same audio files together, they wouldn't be screaming each other's names. So I think what we heard was probably her actively killing herself or her mother.
My rating is also a 3, and yeah, I think it was a beautiful base with insufficient execution, and overall, if you're leaning on whether or not to watch this movie, I say wait for it to come to streaming and be free. If not, maybe just skip it.
Yeah.
And that will be all from us. This is the Bloody Wankers.
Jerking off.
Jerking off.